We got a call.
We got a call, right. Oh, yeah, we got a call from Steve in Pennsylvania who wants to talk about the Who and Bruce, which is good because I'm kind of in the same mood myself. Wait a minute, what am I doing wrong? Oh, you know what? Click them on, will you, Jim? I forgot to do that setting.
All right, there he is.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
All right.
So we're talking about Bruce presenting that Stevie Ray Vaughan Award. It got me thinking because The Who and Bruce are my two favorite artists, probably 1 and 1A, and they probably flip positions every week. And a fantasy I had, and you and this venue seems the perfect place to do it, would be if there was any way to get Bruce and Pete to sit down for an hour or 10 and just talk about songwriting and guitar and performing. It would be phenomenal. Now, that's probably a pipe dream, but I just wanted to get that wish out there.
Well, it's not unimaginable. I'm quite certain it happened. Something like that happened early on, although songwriters don't necessarily talk about songwriting when they get together. You know, they talk about their lives. Mm-hmm. But although songwriting is a big part of their lives, so who knows? But remember, it was Pete and Bruce together going to see U2 at the Marquee in West London. U2's career was dead until that moment. And
well, in reading Pete's biography, I think it was his and not Before I Get Old, he talks about going to see Bruce, and I think Pete said his wife's favorite song was Racing in the Street.
Oh, God, it used to drive him mad. He and I got into a whole thing about it the first time we saw Bruce together in Brighton. Yeah. He just didn't get it. Karen totally got it.
Well, there was a guest DJ, a rock photographer, Gruen, I think.
Bob Gruen.
Yeah, there was he did a guest DJ, and he talked about where he was in the English countryside, I think, with Joe Strummer, and they were listening to Racing in the Street over and over again, just absolutely loving it. Then Bob comes back to the U.S. to see, I think, David Johansen, maybe the New York Dolls, in some club in Jersey, and they stopped in a 7-Eleven to get directions, and they're standing out, and he goes, you know what? I'm in the middle of that song. Joe Strummer's back in England listening to it, but I'm in the middle of it right here outside the 7-Eleven with these guys revving their engine. But the other thing, so I think the other thing I wanted to talk about was that for some reason I've got this connection between the Wild the Innocent, Me Street Shuffle, and Quadrophenia, and every year when I rent a place down the shore overlooking the ocean, I just have to. One night I need to listen to Wild the Innocent, and the next night I need to listen to Quadrophenia, and I'm trying to make sense of it. I have trouble articulating it. It may have been when I bought Before I Get Old and Two Hearts at the same time, and I couldn't wait to read them both, so I read them both at the same time. I put one in the upstairs bathroom, one in the downstairs bathroom, because I read them both at the same time. So maybe that kind of converged the two, because I think about, like, you've got mods and rockers and Quadrophenia, you've got greasers and surfers, I think, although I don't know they mentioned surfers in Wild Innocent, but I think it was in the book. So I think that kind of drew me together. So the theme of, I guess the setting is one of the first things that you've got. They're both set at the beach and in a big city with Brighton Beach in London and Asbury Park and New York, and seeing there was a Quadrophenia documentary that came out a year or two ago, and one of the first scenes in there, you see the amusement pier on Brighton Beach, and first thing that pops into my mind is Wild Innocent and Asbury Park. So that those two things just make me just mesh those two albums together.
Wow.
Has you ever made that connection, or am I by myself?
You are no longer by yourself. That I can tell you. Have I ever made that connection? Not exactly. I mean, the condition that Jimmy is in, and that Bruce's characters are often in. Jimmy's the protagonist of Quadrophenia, which, by the way, hasn't tomorrow. You know this, Steve, I don't know, but there's an orchestral version scored really by Rachel Fuller, Pete's partner, that comes out of Quadrophenia, that comes out tomorrow.
Oh, no, I
didn't. And Jim and I have heard it. I thought it was great.
It's fantastic. It really is.
Yeah. And that's, but maybe the difference can be summarized this way. Bruce is a surfer. Pete, a sailor.
There you go. The nautical connection.
Well, because if you tried to surf on Brighton Beach, it's all stones. It would be, and not really any waves, unless there's a storm kicking up, and even then. But it's what they did with those things. What they did with those things, you're on it, and it. I knew that they both appealed to me a lot. Obviously, I wrote books about them both, for long books about them both, because of that. But I never put it together the way you put it together. That was really beautiful, Nick.
Well, and there's the musical styles are so different, but then, some of the themes are just universal. With longing for the girl. Like I think of in Sandy, he's longing for Sandy, and then you've got Seeing Sam, where you've got like the girl I love, across the ball in UV lights making stars shine off her smile. That longing there. But then you've got other things like and I guess in Seeing Sam, The Real Me, real hard, aggressive. There's a line in there, cracks between the pavement stones, rivers of flowing rain, strange people who know me, from behind every room to pain. The girl I used to love, that's it, was in this yellow house. Yesterday she passed me by, she doesn't want to know me now. So like all that.
And the way that is delivered, and I can't remember whether it's Alfie Boe or Billy Idol who delivers that line on this Quadrophenia orchestral version, is unbelievable. It was actually my favorite line in the entire opera when I was listening to it last week. It's amazing that you brought that up today to me, because that is a great line, and that is, you're right, that's a Bruce line, Bruce type line. Now, Pete had no idea who Bruce Springsteen was when he wrote it. I hasten to point out, because that Quadrophenia came out in like 73, I think.
73. Well, that was the other thing. They both came out in 73, yeah.
So well, there you are. Nick, I was going to drag you into this if I could.
Yeah, drag me in, man. I'm in.
Well,
it's interesting, the whole ocean comparison, because when I think of The Who, one of the first, obviously if you listen to me, I'm obsessed with Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam, and the relationship, with him and Pete Townsend is, been publicized, they're very close. So I was just thinking, you could grab a lot of comparisons from, lyrics, whether it's beach type things, but I think with Pearl Jam and Bruce and The Who, whether it was Quadrophenia with Jimmy, Pearl Jam lyrics with, a lot of times with Eddie, with himself written into those songs, and then Bruce, all those characters, they're all going through certain journeys, you know what I mean? And it's interesting that the ocean and the beach has come into play for all three of these bands that have, at least for me, played a very important role in my life.
Yeah, and two of the performers are surfers.
Yeah, and I was going to say, two of them are surfers, right, going to the sailor.
And then you would think the other connection, because it's sort of the surf instrument, is the original surf instrument. Now it's Dick Dale's guitar, but originally it was the ukulele.
Yeah. But
the only time that Pete and I ever talked about Eddie Vedder was when he said to me, "You know him, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Will you tell him enough with the fucking ukulele already?" It was after he made the ukulele album.
That's great.
Yeah, I think I think actually there might be a uke on this, and maybe it's a banjo, but I'm thinking more that it might be a ukulele now that we're into this discussion. It's pretty amazing. I'll tell you what, the thing for me, knowing them both, is, this is a weird thing to say, but not very many people approach rock and roll as a matter of honor. And that sort of, Pete fought that, Bruce struggled with that, Eddie had a different struggle because it was a different time, but I think that's what those three guys have got in common.
No question.
That it's so important to them that they will fight, they will struggle, and it's a matter somehow of ethics. Oh, does that make sense to you, Thom?
Yeah, I've been enjoying this, listening in, and
Yes, we've added a kind of talk show rock criticism to the show lately.
No, but I'm just thinking about. I'm going to backtrack for a second of just the idea of Quadrophenia and the connection with the other music, and I was just sitting here thinking. I grew up listening a lot to Quadrophenia and actually reading your books, and
you were a surfer by the sea.
I was a surfer in Point Pleasant and obsessively listening to Quadrophenia because I felt like it was a different world, and didn't connect it to the imagery or the music of Bruce at the time, and it just...
Well, the North Sea is very different than the Atlantic Ocean.
The whole narrative of Quadrophenia just seemed like a very far away world, but at the same time held the teenage angst I needed at the moment in my music. And I still listen to Quadrophenia now. I'm interested in... I saw the band perform it on the last tour, and that was a great thing. And I've connected to that music for a real long time. I've never really connected it to Bruce's music at all. So to me, it was...
I always did, but until today, and I'm serious about this, Steve, until today it felt like an awkward fit. Doesn't feel so awkward anymore.
Well, no. And that's what I've been trying to express. I needed the right audience, I guess. When I've been trying to express it, a buddy of mine, I was telling him about it, and he goes, "What are you trying to conduct some DNA experiment, combining Bruce and Pete, and make some mutant rock star?" I said, "No," I said, "I'm just trying to." No,
Eddie already exists.
Exactly.
And it's more than just Eddie Vedder. Some of both of those DNAs were in Joe Strummer. Big time.
Oh yeah.
But the ethics part for sure.
Oh yeah.
But also just the way that they all dive into vocals.
That's for sure.
And it was funny last week. You were mentioning like that Pete was the angriest guy in rock that or something like that, and you can kind of see the part and Bruce is kind of happy even though he had his
I wouldn't say he's happy, but he's much more serene. He has hardly any temper. He doesn't get mad. It's not he doesn't get mad. He doesn't act it out. Right. That all gets gobbled up, I think. Well, I don't know how much stuff he's thrown at Thom. But anybody could understand that.
The personalities come through in those two albums because Quadrophenia just seems like a much more angry, aggressive style than Wild Venus is just more a softer, more romantic, and sometimes comical, experience. So you can just really see the songwriter's personalities coming. Yeah,
well, it doesn't strike me that Spanish Johnny's getting up out of bed with Jane to go, play pity pat. Might be a gun, might be a knife, but it's all those romantic young boys, all they want to do is fight. There it is, right there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's the same. I guess it's similar to when you talk about sad songs sounding happy and vice versa. That's an aggressive lyric in a very soft presentation. So it doesn't. Whereas Quadrophenia's aggression is right in your face, laying you over the head, and Bruce is much more subtle.
Yeah, that's that time around, but that goes back and forth some. And what I said about Pete and Bruce was about their public persona. Like everybody else, they have happy, sad, and all in between. And people who know them in private know things that people who only know them in public wouldn't see. And that's quite deliberate on any artist's part. Bob Dylan must make simple sentences for his children. Well, maybe not. Grandchildren, no.
Well, thanks for letting me...
Thank you. Thank you. Man. That was great. That was really, really great. And, it's a funny thing because that's a part... I've been doing the show 10 years now, Jim? 10 years right after... it'll be 10 years right after the
Super Bowl.
Yeah, so it's 10 years.
Yeah.
And... I guess when we started, I thought that this kind of conversation would be more of an element of the show, and that's only happened recently.